Bernie Sanders, look at that. The love people have for you is so personal. You must feel that, right?
I do.
Do you miss it on the campaign trail?
Yeah. And if your real question is, would I have preferred not to have the time to be with you tonight, to be campaigning all over this country and running for president?
Of
the answer
course.
is yes. I wish
know
I
you
had.
would. So what are you doing these days?
Well, I just wrote a book.
Really?
And right here, I'm now on the West Coast in order to see and help the people of California pass Proposition 61 so that we can begin to take on the pharmaceutical industry who are ripping off the American people every single day.
What does 61 say?
What 61 says is that the state agencies in California should not pay anything more for prescription drugs than the Veterans Administration, which pays the lowest prices in the country.
And isn't this really the key to getting single payer anytime in this country? I mean, they tried single payer in your state of Vermont, and it couldn't work because until you cap how much the gougers can charge, the pharmaceutical companies and the hospitals, we're going to have more EpiPens and more Martin Shkreli's.
Well, look, the drug industry, and I have to say this, you know, you got 1 out of 5 people now who, when they get a prescription from a doctor, they can't even afford to buy that prescription because the prices are so high. You got elderly people in Vermont, they're cutting their pills in half because they can't afford the medicine. People are dying in this country and they're getting sick because they can't afford the medicine. And these guys in the pharmaceutical industry, in my humble opinion, are crooks. They made the top five companies last year, Bill, made $50 billion in profit. CEOs rake in enormous compensation packages, and yet people, you know, can't afford the medicine they need. That's not the way it's
So what we have to do is cap how much people should charge, right?
Yeah.
I mean that.
Well, what you have to do is what every other major country on earth does.
Right.
And that is negotiate prices. And what we have now, the pharmaceutical industry has 1,400 lobbyists in Washington, D.C. They have spent $1 billion or $3 billion since 1988 just on lobbying. All right, these guys have enormous power. They own the political parties. And what we have got to do is the American people say, you know, enough is enough. We are going to control your prices. We're going to negotiate prices with you. Back in the 1990s, I took a busload of women from the state of Vermont to Montreal, Canada, to buy
Billy Bush?
Not quite. To buy prescription drugs for breast cancer. Back then, they paid 1/10 the price that they were paying here in the United States for breast cancer. I mean, that's insane.
Yeah.
We pay the highest prices in the world for our medicine. Yeah, we got to deal with those issues.
But don't you think that capping the prices may hurt innovation and new drugs coming in?
That's what
bullshit, right?
It is bullshit.
That's
they spend far more money.
That is what
They spend far more. Give you an example. Innovation money. They're spending, as I understand it, $100 million right here in California to beat this proposition. $100 million. Last year, the CEOs of the top 10 companies made over $300 million. They made $50 billion in profit. They spend a lot more in marketing and advertising than they do in research development.